I don't like sand. Oh, and spoilers. Welcome to the channel, I'm Hayes, I'll talk movies all day, so subscribe right now if you want to be entertained. And today, I want to talk about Star Wars Episode 2 Attack of the Clones, the 2002 sequel to the highly disappointing Phantom Menace. And although this was generally considered an improvement, that don't mean it's not trash. So here's what I'm going to do. Go through the movie, point out all the reasons I can find as to why it's trash, and then at the end, drop a few final thoughts. So the movie starts off with making you read. And yes, I will lambast every Star Wars movie that does this, even though this time they at least put some semi-useful information in there. Just the facts that they make you read, it still sucks, okay? Anyway, Queen Amidala is not Queen Amidala anymore. She got demoted to senator. So why are we still following her? She couldn't get nothing done as queen, and now she has even less authority? Why is anybody still after her? She owe drug money or something? Also, since she ain't queen no more, why is her decoy still dressing like it's the first pride after lockdown? Also, why does Padme still have a decoy? How did somebody get so desperate that they take a gig risking their life for a senator? I'm not saying it's not possible, I'm just saying, I want to know that story. So when Corday dies, she says, "Milady, I'm so sorry. I failed you, Senator." No, the fact that somebody blew up the ship thinking Padme was on board means she successfully did her job. The wisest and strongest Jedi together in the same room, and not one of them can tell Palpatine is a bad man. I mean, the fact that this guy doesn't have enough chairs in his office for everyone to sit down is a massive red flag, and you don't need no force powers to sense that. Yoda says, "The dark side clouds everything. Impossible to see, the future is." Now this is about 10 years after the Phantom Menace, so I reckon Yoda owes Anakin an apology. Mace Windu says their intelligence points to disgruntled spice miners behind the attack. Padme says she thinks Count Dooku is behind it. Clearly Padme should have been a Jedi, because they could have edited the movie right there. Also, how many times are the Jedi going to be wrong about something before people realize how ineffective they are? So one of the biggest things that gets brought up is how come Anakin goes from Jake Lloyd to Hayden Christensen while Padme is still Natalie Portman? And it's a legit question. Anakin is 9 years old in the Phantom Menace. It makes sense that he's going to look way different 10 years later. Padme's supposed to be 14 in the Phantom Menace, so 10 years later she should be looking a bit different too. So do Tatooine boys age like Earthling boys while Naboo girls age like vampires? Anyway, Padme tells Anakin he'll always be that little boy she knew on Tatooine, and well, this movie got bare pedo vibes. Anakin started an argument with his boss in front of the person who was supposed to be confident in their abilities. Why would a bounty hunter hire a bounty hunter to hunt a bounty that the bounty hunter was hired to hunt? There's no good reason for Jango Fett not to do it himself, or at least help out. This movie could have been like 15 minutes, max. It was Padme's idea to cover the cameras and use herself as bait, which means she doesn't trust Anakin enough to not jerk off while she's sleeping, but trusted that his senses are attuned enough to know what's going on. The same guy who not that long ago started an argument with his boss just to stroke his own ego. Are you dumb? So the bounty hunter that the bounty hunter hires to hunt the bounty that the bounty hunter was hired to hunt decided to use a robot. Seriously, Jango Fett couldn't just do that himself? So not only did the robot not have a self-destruct program, Zam was just hanging around waiting for it to come back. Are you dumb? First of all, why didn't Zam just shoot Obi-Wan? And B, I ain't no scientifical physiologist or whatever, but Obi-Wan is falling down in a straight line. When Anakin flies the car down to rescue him, Anakin is moving forward, as in he doesn't stop the car directly underneath Obi-Wan, he keeps moving forward. Obi-Wan died in this scene. Anakin looks directly down, then jumps out the car to land on Zam, but from where Zam would have been, Anakin could not have seen her by looking directly down. Also, the fact they assume Zam is a man, that's sexist. Anakin caused a flying car to crash land nearby a concentrated group of people. To be fair, he's supposed to be reckless, but why is nobody shocked or scared? Do they do this all the time? So not only did Zam draw unnecessary attention to herself by shooting at the Jedi, turns out she's a changeling, so why not change into someone else and walk away? Are you dumb? How did Jango Fett know they would bring her out into the open? From where he was, that was super convenient. Also, if Jango Fett was nearby, why didn't he pop off the Jedis while they were focused on Zam? And of all the ways he could have taken out Zam, he went with the one that literally a child can trace back to him. Are you dumb? Yoda says Padme must respect their judgment until the killer is caught. Why? It's been one movie and 25 minutes and they've demonstrated little to no competence. At this point, Padme is better off getting Jar Jar Binks to protect her. Yoda and Mace Windu are singing Anakin's praises to Obi-Wan Kenobi. But what I really want to know is, has any of them actually apologized directly to Anakin yet? Also, Yoda says arrogance is a flaw more and more common amongst Jedi. Gee, I wonder where they get that from, Yoda. Padme makes Jar Jar Binks her representative to the Senate, but wouldn't it have been better to get one of her decoys to do that? Or after what happened to Corday, did they wise up and quit? Anakin tells Padme that we have to let go of our pride and do what's requested of us. He then proceeds to whine about how the way Obi-Wan treats him isn't fair. It seems dumb, but actually it makes a lot of sense. What doesn't make sense, however, is something I'm gonna come back to. Also, Anakin gives Padme the rape face. Padme is supposed to be going into hiding, yet she dresses like a Balenciaga runway model. Obi-Wan speaks in a very refined manner throughout the movies.
I haven't felt you this tense since we fell into that nest of Gundarks.
What about Senator Amidala? She will still need protecting.
I'll get to the bottom of this plot quickly, milady.
But the way he said,
"Hello, Dex,"
was pure common people. Truth is, that was probably a slip up, but maybe it means Dex and Obi-Wan go back a long time and seeing an old friend immediately made Obi-Wan forget his etiquette and start talking like the chavs he used to hang around with. But wait, in the Obi-Wan Kenobi Disney Plus series, Obi-Wan says he was taken from his family by the Jedi when he was young, which, by the way, is exactly what the First Order did with FN-2187 and the other stormtroopers. But anyway, if he was taken when young, how would he have time to make friends with Dex? Specifically, enough time to become such good friends that his accent changes when seeing him again. My theory is, at some point in Obi-Wan's youth, he ran away from the Jedi Council, met Dex, they would hang out on the estates, do spies and pull scams on the local merchants, which would explain why Obi-Wan has no problem with lying so much, and also explains why Dex is the first person Obi-Wan goes to find out about unrecognized ammunition, and explains why Dex knows so much about the Kaminoans who apparently like to keep to themselves. Obi-Wan used to run with criminals. Anyway, I've lost count of how many times Anakin has come onto Padme and she's rejected it, but this is about the point where it stopped being creepy and started being pathetic. Yoda's teaching a class and gives the instruction, use your feelings. To be fair, it's not the first time this or a similar instruction has been given, but my question is, how? How do you use your feelings? Like specifically, what are the steps you're supposed to take in order to use your feelings? Because if they already know how to use their feelings, what exactly are they supposed to be learning? Anyway, Obi-Wan interrupts the lesson because he's a self-righteous, arrogant prick. Matter of fact, one of my old teachers would have said, he's stealing their education. Also, this one looks really pissed off. Now I don't know, maybe that's just his face, but he looks like this ain't the first time some bozo interrupted the class. Yoda says it's embarrassing that Obi-Wan has lost the planet, but Obi-Wan didn't lose the planet, it just wasn't shown in the archives. Are you dumb? So apparently the reason why the Queen wears face paint is to make it easier for their decoys to mimic them. So the fact that Senator Amidala no longer wears face paint and Zam still got the wrong person. Are you dumb? Anakin's ego got bruised when Padme said he's not a Jedi. Now to be fair, Padme didn't have to bait him out like that, but ultimately, she's not wrong. Alright, so let's recap a little bit. Anakin started an argument with his boss in front of Padme, complained to her about the way he treats him and just generally acted like a whiny, entitled bitch throughout. Furthermore, he was super forward with her to the point where it really became harassment, and then he starts touching her up with zero indication that she'd be okay with it. But he still gets the girl? George, what in the hell kind of message you trying to say? Even if Padme did secretly fancy him the whole time, she gave not a one reason for him to keep coming at her. This movie is a simp's fantasy. Matter of fact, you can tell Anakin is a simp when he was carrying 2 luggages and Padme was only carrying 1. Clearly by the amount of wardrobe changes, we know he weren't carrying his own bags. Also, right before they kiss, he gives her that same creepy rape face. George, what in the hell kind of message you trying to say? The Kamino Prime Minister said that without the growth acceleration, the clones would take a lifetime to grow. Now they can do it in half the time. That's really saying a whole lot without saying anything at all. Like, how long is a lifetime? You want to be more specific?
The hills are alive with the sound of music.
I know Padme used to be royalty, but was she really about to eat a pear with a knife and fork? Also, when Anakin does his Jedi magic and cuts the pear, he literally gives her the butt end and keeps a big piece for himself. Mace Windu says he thinks it's time they inform the Senate that their ability to use the Force has diminished. So all this time they were operating under false pretenses? Letting people believe they had things under control, telling the Queen and the Senator they must trust their judgment, all while knowing their abilities ain't that good no more. What was Yoda saying about arrogance again? And these guys out here letting their ego put people's lives in danger, getting people killed, just because they didn't want to admit a weakness? Nah, you man are wrong for that. And apparently the Dark Lord of the Sith knows about it and they still kept quiet? But wait, how does Yoda know the Dark Lord of the Sith knows? In the last movie, the Jedi didn't even know the Sith were back. Now, 10 years later, Yoda knows the Dark Lord of the Sith knows their weakness, but they don't know who the Dark Lord of the Sith is? Are you dumb? Padme walks out to a meditating Anakin, then turns back around because she didn't want to disturb him. But it's like, you could tell from the door that he was meditating, you didn't have to walk out that far just to turn back. When sliding down the side of the thingy, Jango Fett digs the blades of his right arm into the surface. Then all of a sudden it's his left arm. Also, falling like that, in heavy rain, Obi-Wan wouldn't have had enough grip to hold onto the rope. Obi-Wan died in this scene. Of course, Obi-Wan's tracking device never got lost or damaged during the fight. You know, for a low-down, dirty, rotten crook, Watto was actually pretty helpful. Jango Fett didn't realize he was being tracked until the child Boba Fett pointed it out. Being a bounty hunter, shouldn't he be constantly on the lookout for people following him? Also, Jango thinks he's managed to lose Obi-Wan, but he still has the tracker on his ship. Why did Padme let R2 come out all that way before telling it to stay with the ship? You couldn't have said that earlier? Now, just because you like to walk out further than you need to before turning back, don't mean you have to make everybody else do it. So we know why Cliegg Lars couldn't go back to try and save Shmi. What we don't know is, why didn't Owen go or go back to try and save Shmi? Man just gonna let his stepmother get tortured for a month? And Anakin thinks they're good people? Really? Cliegg Lars bought Shmi from Watto, freed her, then married her. Don't that sound manipulative to you? How much say does Shmi really have in that marriage? I mean, this is a woman who's been a slave for a long time, is bought as a slave, then freed and asked to marry the same man that freed her. Is she really being given a choice here? If she says no, then what? She's supposed to go live someplace with no money, no friends, no family, probably end up right back where she started. So maybe the reason Owen never went after Shmi is because Cliegg didn't want to risk his only son over his replaceable property. Nah. They ain't good people. Also, Padme got changed 3 times in the space of a day or two while everyone around her stayed wearing the exact same clothes. Talk about flaunting your wealth in front of poor people. And she's supposed to be not drawing attention to herself. Come on. So of course R2-D2 can fly and knows exactly where there's an access port it can use to turn off the molten lava thingy because it just knows Padme is in danger because convenience. When Anakin's lightsaber broke, he said, "Not again. Obi-Wan's gonna kill me," which turned out to be true. From a certain point of view. The scene where Padme confesses her love to Anakin is awkward. Since the last time they kissed, he's still a whiny entitled bitch, he's advocated for dictatorship and force compliance, he gave her the worst part of the fruit, and he went on a killing spree. I mean look, I know sometimes the heart wants what the heart wants, but since they both possibly could be dying soon, do you really want your last words to be about how much you were in love with a deranged psychopathic simp? Obi-Wan is really not in a position to be given attitude. Also, apparently Padme had a hairpin in her utility belt because she's a woman, I guess? But how does she take it out, pull it in her mouth in front of everyone, and guards literally right there, and no one noticed? Also, her hands were cuffed above her head, but conveniently the chain had enough slack for her hands to reach her mouth, and still no one said anything. Really? Why is Jango Fett there? To be honest, it seems to be a thing with the Fetts where they turn up to places they really don't need to be and end up getting killed. Or, presumed dead. Anakin broke his dick in this scene. Padme broke her pussy in this scene. Obi-Wan learned from their mistakes in this scene. Imagine watching your dad get put under manners fighting a war that wasn't his to be fighting, and I'm gonna guess probably wasn't even paid in full for, and then thinking to yourself, I want to be just like that. Are you dumb? Also, why is there no blood and brains dripping out of the helmet? This kid should be traumatized. Seriously though, how many times is something gonna happen then somebody claims the thing that just happened is impossible? Dude, it literally just happened. Mace Windu told the pilot to land in the assembly area, but didn't say please. Rude. Yoda said, "Concentrate all your fire on the nearest starship," proving he can talk in a standard grammar structure. When chasing Count Dooku and realizing they're out of rockets, Obi-Wan says, "Anakin and I can handle this." Ha! Nope. Can't lie though, Yoda using the Force to take up his lightsaber looked so cool. Matter of fact, despite the CGI, the whole fight scene was cool. But if Yoda can move like that, what does he need a walking stick for? All this time, Yoda been acting like a decrepit old man just to get out of doing chores? And before somebody says, actually, he uses the walking stick so that other people would underestimate him. Two things. One, Obi-Wan knows that Master Yoda is a top swordsman, and if Obi-Wan knows, it's not that far of a stretch to think that Mace Windu and the other Jedi Council members know as well. Furthermore, Count Dooku seems to know too, and who knows how many bad guys he's already told, so really, who is he fooling? And B, Yoda said about Count Dooku that lies and deceit are his ways now. Kinda hypocritical, don't you think? The movie ends with Padme marrying the same guy who didn't come back for her when she fell off the ship. Yeah, this is a simp's fantasy. Alright, so before I get into my final thoughts, if you liked this movie, check out these movies. They're all movies that involve cloning for the purposes of killing people, except for Jurassic Park. That was cloning for the purposes of creating a theme park, but still ended up killing people. So when I saw Attack of the Clones at the cinema, I remember enjoying it a lot more than I did The Phantom Menace. There was drama, action, explosions, Mace Windu murks Jango Fett like a bad man, Yoda got his cool fight scene too, and the legendary Christopher Lee showed up, and of course they called him Count Dooku. So yeah, there was a lot to like about this as a movie theater experience. And now, watching episode 2, the 2-hour and 22-minute film from 2002 and 2022, honestly, apart from Anakin being a whiny, entitled bitch, I think this movie holds up pretty well. Whereas The Phantom Menace established the basis of Anakin's disdain for the Jedi, Attack of the Clones gets more specific. When Shmi died, Anakin felt powerless that even with all his midichlorians, he still couldn't save his mother. So his eventual turn to the dark side is highly fueled by his desire to never see someone he loves die again. He even tells Padme as much. And although the film doesn't focus on this, there is mention of Palpatine giving Anakin guidance, so he's already being groomed. On top of that, he feels Obi-Wan is holding him back, and he never had a good relationship with the Jedi Council. So in the end, with everything he was going through and feeling, he really didn't have anyone he can talk to about it. Well, no good people at least. Well, apart from Padme. But to be fair, the few times he did try to open up to Padme, he just came across as a whiny, entitled bitch. So the point is, just like The Phantom Menace, it did what it needed to do in order to tell a cohesive story. Now, of course, none of that makes it a good movie. That's always going to be subjective. But when I look on Rotten Tomatoes and see that the general critic consensus is that it had underdeveloped characters, that's where I'm going to have to say, actually, not quite. The characters are not underdeveloped, they're immature, or at least as far as we're talking about Anakin and Padme. Anakin is 19 and has spent the last 10 years in the Jedi Academy. Padme is 24 and has spent at least the last 12 years in politics. Neither of them have much real-world experience. So a lot of their awkwardness, and yes, even Anakin's whiny, entitled bitchiness, can be put down to the fact that they're dealing with emotions that they don't know how to deal with. The only other relationship that Padme had, or at least possibly a relationship is not really stated, was when she was 12 years old and fancied a dude called Paolo. But since he went on to be an artist, I think it's safe to say that whatever they had, it didn't go well. The point is, they're both young, inexperienced people in a grown folk situation, and it's that lack of experience and lack of real guidance that in part takes Anakin on the path to the dark side. Truth is, the Jedi failed him every step of the way. But that's what I think of Star Wars Episode 2 Attack of the Clones. What do you think of Star Wars Episode 2 Attack of the Clones? Let me know down below, and while you're there, be sure to like, subscribe, and drop a suggestion if you don't mind.